Hello, students. Good morning. How are you? I hope you are doing fine, doing all your activities needed to be passed today or in this week. So let's continue with our first discussion in midterm, which is the fire suppression, control, and extinguishment and extinguishing agents. So, at the end of the lesson, so you'll be able to know what are the methods of fire extinguishment and how it works. So, what are the types of extinguisher uses to extinguish specific fires. You would be able to know how to. So, what are the characteristics of each extinguishing agents? First, let us define the terms suppression, control, extinguishment, and extinguishing agent. So, what is fire suppression? So, fire suppression means slowing down the rate of fire. So, suppression does not directly you have to cut out the fire, but one of the suppressing method is to slow down the rate of burning. Next is control. Means keeping the fire from spreading or holding the fire to one area. Next is extinguishment. Extinguishment means putting the fire completely out. An extinguishing agent is an extinguisher on a particular fire, depends on the amount and type of agent in the extinguisher. So extinguishing agents determines what type of fire and what specific type of extinguishing agent to be used in order to completely extinguish the fire. Now let's go with the four methods of fire extinguishment and how it works. So first is cooling. So unsa man ko ng cooling? So it is an extinguishing agent whose primary characteristics is the heat absorption. So iyang i-reduce ang temperature, 'di ba? As what I've mentioned on the three elements of fire. If one of the elements is absent, so there is no fire or there will be no fire. So the function of cooling is to reduce the temperature. So kuhaon ang iyahang kainiton. Okay? Next, smothering excludes the oxygen from the fuel so that the gases or vapors of the fuel cannot ignite and continue the combustion. So, CO2 and AFF are used for this purpose. So, CO2 or the AFF or the aqueous film-forming foam, CO2 or the carbon dioxide. Their properties is somewhat like to buwa na siya to smother the fire. Mura siyang tabunan ba? Okay? Next, separation means the removal of the fuel. So, separation or starvation means gi-remove na nimo ang fuel. So, if ever magsunog mo sa inyong balay, maghaling, yan na example, so kwaon ang fuel in order to stop the fire. Next is chemical chain reaction. So, the fourth element of the fire tetrahedron is the chemical chain reaction. So, the fourth method of extinguishment is known as inhibition or the interruption of chemical reaction. So, imong i-inhibit ang chemical reaction sa fire. So, what are the most common extinguishing agents, the class of fire they are used, and the extinguishing methods used? So, the first common extinguishing agent used is water. So, water is only applicable on Class A fires. So, what are those Class A fires? We have paper, plastic, wood, what are the other Class A fires? Basta ka na mga light materials. So, water is the most effective in cooling the burning material below its ignition temperature. So, it is the most commonly used agent in firefighting. Again, why do we have to determine the class of fires in completely extinguishing the fire? Again, we have to know the classes or the types of fire being burned in order to use the proper extinguishing agent needed to extinguish the fire. So, what are the ways or methods water extinguishes fire? So, unsa ko ni mga pamaagi that water will be used to extinguish fire. So, first is cooling. Cooling is the outstanding heat-absorbing qualities of water make it an excellent cooling agent. In the cooling process, water is supplied in large amount to reduce the temperature of the surface of the burning material to below its flash point. Next is smothering. So in smothering method, water is also applicable. So when water is used to smother a fire, steam must be generated in sufficient amounts to exclude or displace air. So if the steam generated is confined in the combustion zone, the smothering action will be enhanced. So what is the usage of water? Water is generally used on Class A fires. So fires involving high flash point liquids such as heavy fuel, oil, and asphalt may be extinguished when water is effectively applied in a spray form. So if you are if the fire is involves heavy fuel, oil, and asphalt, we can use water as long as it is in a spray form. Kabaw sir, what is spray form? So spray ka ng buwag-buwag ang tubig. Murabog namubo ba? Para daghan og makover, so inyo na siyang i-spray form. Not just a direct nga flow sa tubig nga ang igon gid ana is ang the specific origin of fire. Next common extinguishing agent is carbon dioxide or the CO2. So a number of its properties make carbon dioxide a desirable extinguishing agent. So it is non-combustible and non-reactive with most substances. So carbon dioxide is non-combustible and non-reactive with most substances. So if you use carbon dioxide, it guarantees that it cannot non-reactive with other substances nga nasunog. So what are the effects of carbon dioxide? So extinguishment with carbon dioxide is primarily by smothering. It covers or blankets the burning material and reduces the oxygen content to below levels needed for combustion. Even though it is very cold, it has a little cooling effect on a fire when compared with equal amount of water. So that are the effects of carbon dioxide. So it is mostly used in smothering the fire because it covers or blankets the burning material. Next, what is the usage of carbon dioxide? So due to its non-conductivity. So unsa man ang non-conductivity? Unsa man ang conductor? Good source. Unsa man ang conductor as a preview as a unsa may kuan na. What is conduction or conductor? Or when is a material a good source of conduction, katong transfer of energy. So it is the transmission of heat through an object, medium, or conductor such as pipe, metal, hot air duct, wire, or even wall. So due to its non-conductivity, carbon dioxide is very effective in use on Class C fires. So what are those examples of Class C fires? So those electrical equipment or electrical appliances. It is also used in Class B fires, but another agent is needed in smothering on large or fire to prevent reignition. So pwede sad siya gamiton on Class B fires, but another agent is needed in smothering on large or fire to prevent reignition. So again, to prevent reignition, so we should use the proper extinguishing agent to extinguish or to completely extinguish a fire. Next common extinguishing agent is a dry chemical. So, ano po ng dry chemical? The dry chemical extinguishing agents in use today are mixtures of powders and various additives that improve the storage, flow, and water repellency of the powders. So dry chemical is stable at low temperature, but it has an upper storage of 140 degree Fahrenheit. So what are the effects ko now if dry chemical is used to extinguish fire? So flames vanish almost at once when dry chemical is applied directly to the fire area. But the exact chemistry and mechanism of extinguishing agent is not fully known. So it has been suggested that the dry chemical agents inhibit the chain reaction. The combustion one has a greater effect in the extinguishment. So dry chemical, that is somewhat powdery. Powdery or kanang mixture of water and sun. Okay? So that is dry chemical. So how do you use dry chemical? So I have here presented two types of dry chemical. First is the ordinary and regular dry chemical. Refer to those powder that are intended for use on class B and C fire. So this first illustration refers only the intended use on class B and class C fires. So di siya nimo gamiton on any other types of fire. It is only intended for class B and C. Class B is for oil or the heavy mga lubricants. Class C is for the electrical equipment. So another use for dry chemical is kanang multi-purpose dry chemical. Refers to powders listed for use on class A, B, and C. So this multi-purpose dry chemical extinguisher is mao ni siya ang atong mostly nga makita because it is a multi-purpose. So whenever you come encountered with fire and you have seen a fire extinguisher, tan-awa kung unsa ang iyahang uses. What kind of fire will it extinguish? So, mayngog multi-purpose. So, it can be used whether on Class A, Class B, and Class C fires. Next, dry powder. So, dry powder, ano po ng dry powder? Dry powder is generally termed for agents used to extinguish combustible metal fires. So, no one dry powder has been found to be effective on all types of combustible materials. So, what are the effects if dry powder is used to extinguish combustible metal fires? Effects. It generally extinguishes fires by excluding air from the combustible metal. To some extent, heat is absorbed by the powder to lower the temperature of the metal to below ignition point. So, it also includes air. Next, usage. Dry powder is used primarily on Class D fires. So, Class D fires are those metals na siya. Like, katong na ay mga what are the types of kanang metal? Like, metal alloys, metal compounds, may magnesium, titanium, sodium, potassium. So, if that combustible metals is involved in fire, so use dry powder extinguishing agent. So, usage. Dry powder is used primarily on Class D fires and should not be used on other types of fire due to its limited value on this fire. So, once the extinguishing agent is only intended for this type of fire, so let's use that in a correct way by classifying what type of fire is being burned. So, another common extinguishing agent is kanang gitawag na to og AFF or the aqueous film forming foam. Has placed foam for all around firefighting purposes. So, what are the effects of AFF? So, the quick knockdown and heat reduction properties of AFF have proven it to a highly effective agent. So, these properties combine with its ability to seal the surface the burning hydrocarbon fires to prevent flashback. This is not only extinguishes the fire but also prevent the release of fuel vapors which would result in flashback. So this vapor seal is also very hard to break up by walking or moving hose line through it. So in order to prevent flashback from fire, so the best method or the best extinguishing agent to be used is the AFF. So what is the usage of AFF? As with any other extinguishing agent, its effectiveness depends on the proper application. So it should also depends on proper application. It designed to be applied 6%. It is used primarily on Class B fires. It may be used in Class A fire, but may be less effective than plain water. So this is an example of an AFF fire extinguisher that is commonly in blue color. Next, halons. What are halons daw? So these agents have been used for over 50 years. Continuous research has brought these agents to the present high degree of effectiveness in interrupting the chain reaction they possess, along with a decrease in life safety hazards. So halons are effective in extinguishing chain reaction process. So what are the effects of halons? Halogenated agents work chemically to extinguish fire. So they stop combustion process by breaking the fire chain reaction and prevent further fire propagation. This chemical fire stopping action happens with only a low concentration of halogenated agent used. So this type of application is effective in controlling or extinguishing surface fires involving flammable liquid, solid, gases such as deep tanks, spray booths, oil feed transformers, or vapor vents. Usage. Halogenated agents are very effective on Class B and Class C fires and have some effects and success on Class A fires. Halogenated agents or halons is also used on aircraft fires. So, one of the effective extinguishing agent to be used on aircraft fires is the halon. So, if ever that makina sa aircraft is being burned, so one of the extinguishing agent best used to extinguish it is the halons. So that ends our topic on the fire suppression, control, extinguishment, and extinguishing agents. So I hope you have you are done with your activities regarding this topic. So I will see you on the next explanation or discussion.